consumers in today's world, some of us have wider choice of goods and services before us. The latest models of digital camera, mobile phone, and televisions, made by the leading manufacturers of the world, are within our reach. Every season new models of automobiles can be seen on Indian roads.
Globalization is a widely discussed topic. It is therefore not all that easy to explain such a complicated term in simple words. Let's start from the beginning with the background to globalization. Advances in technology, such as mobile phones, aeroplanes, telephones, and the internet, have made the growth of transport and communication networks possible. Amongst other things, this means that people and countries can exchange information and goods more quickly and in a less complicated way. This process is called globalization. Globalization comes from globe and means the worldwide coming together of countries and nations. Let's look at an example. Companies used to manufacture products in their home countries, just like the companies Profi TV and Supercolor, who produce televisions in country A. Their products are in direct competition with each other, but both companies pay the same salaries and production costs. They have the same customers, use similar suppliers, and sell televisions at similar prices. In short, the same conditions apply to both companies. So far, so good. Due to technical, cultural, and economic developments that have come about through globalization, other companies which manufacture products under different conditions can now offer their products in country A too. That's why a company from country B can sell televisions here at a lower price because they were produced for less. The local firms Supercolor and Profi TV have to react to withstand the competition. And so the world grows closer together, and there is an active exchange of goods between countries. More affordable products are available for more people. However, not only does an exchange of products and economic goods take place, but also of services, knowledge, cultural goods, and even languages. All of these individual elements are closely linked and influence each other. But where there is light, there is also shadow. Because of globalization and this intense exchange of goods, people and the environment often suffer. If a company decides to move production to an economically disadvantaged country, people in industrialized countries lose their jobs. At the same time, job opportunities open up to many locals in the economically disadvantaged country. Many people in these countries work for very little money in comparison to those in industrialized countries. Therefore, they often remain poor and more often than not do not have sufficient insurance, social insurance, or health insurance cover. A further disadvantage of globalization is ecological problems such as climate change. The use of aeroplanes, ships, and lorries to transport goods over international borders is constantly on the increase. This causes more carbon dioxide to be released into the atmosphere, which, in turn, is the main cause of global warming. Even national environmental standards are ignored. This is a further cost factor in the worldwide international site competition, which should be kept as low as possible to be attractive for a company. There are therefore many sides to globalization, which affect almost all aspects of life, causing me to think that the chain of positive and negative effects will continue to grow further. What's important is to realize that globalization itself is neither good nor bad. It just depends how people deal with all the new possibilities in the future.
Morning, sir.
Very good morning.
What do you think about global world?
It's very rather difficult to define the term globalization. Global world, in the sense, we have to update all our processes, the process of manufacturing and goods and services to one international standard. Perhaps that may be called globalization or global order. And every country adhering to those standardized qualities may whole become a global world.
What is the impact of it in our economy? What do you think about it?
In the long run, it will have a very good impact. Globalization, in the sense, we have to be very quality conscious in all our processes of manufacturing, in all our processes of providing services. Therefore, we will inculcate competitiveness, which will be a long-lasting trade secret, commercial secret for any country, for any company.
Do you think globalization made any change in our city?
In our city here?
Yes, in Kalaburgi.
No, it will take its own time. Our city, the process of change in Gulbarga or rather Kalaburgi, it's a very slow compared to any other city because it has got its own historical and other background.
Yes.
Therefore, it takes its own time.
What is its impact on your profession, that is journalism?
The impact of globalization on journalism has been both positive and negative.
Yes, sir.
Ever since the advent of this globalization, a large-scale commercialization has crept in Indian journalism.
Yes, sir.
And that has dented the basic qualities of journalism as such in India, in both English journalism and also vernacular press. Therefore, this is a major negative aspect of globalization on print and electronic media.
Yes.
And the positive aspect is that it has brought about some quality conscious both in technology and content of a print media or electronic media. And we have been trying to very hard to compete with the global media,
yes,
whether it is print media or electronic media, and that is the major positive aspect.
Yes. Is it good for our developing India?
It's definitely, globalization is a very good opportunity for development of India. We have been seeing in various fields, particularly in the fields of infrastructure and in the fields of information technology and in the field of in certain portions of higher education.
Yes.
It has brought about a very seriousness and quality conscious in the Indian economy as such. It was not to be seen earlier. It is only it is only after the advent of liberalization, privatization and globalization that we have been able to compete with the other world.
Do you think Modi is going in the way of globalization or globalizing the India?
That's very obvious. That has been the major mantra of the present Prime Minister Narendra Modi. In every level, he has been talking about it, though he may not be saying in so many words regards globalization. And what he intends to do is definitely the process of globalization in all fields.
Do you think that globalization enriches the relationship between the countries, like in India and USA?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Globalization has nothing to do with the intra-country relations.
Yes.
It all depends on the foreign policies, the kind of foreign policies the country adopts,
Yes,
with its neighbors and other countries. Globalization has nothing to do with it.
What can be the negative impact of globalization on our economy?
The major negative impact of globalization on our economy is the domestic manufacturing sector, particularly the small and medium enterprises.
Yes.
Because of lack of working capital, because of the lack of quality consciousness, because of the lack of technology upgradation and all
Yes.
those things, the condition of small and medium sector has been very pathetic. But unfortunately, the small and medium sector is the most employment-oriented sector,
Yes.
and more number of people can be employed in this sector rather than the bigger and major industries. So
Yes.
therefore we have been not able to address our small and medium sector after the advent of globalization.
Do you think that a common man can have the profit of this globalization? On what way he can have those profits?
Globalization will certainly bring about competitiveness and a lot of choices for a consumer.
Yes, sir.
For consumers, it is a very, very good blessing for consumers, and they will be happy with globalization.
Thank you, sir.
Agricultural sector is the mainstay of the rural India economy around the socio-economic privileges and deprivations resolve, and any change in its structure is likely to have a corresponding impact on the existing pattern of social equity. The liberalization of India's economic was adopted in India in 1991. Facing a severe economic crisis, India approached the IMF for a loan, and the IMF granted what is called a structural adjustment loan, which is a loan with certain conditions attached with which relate to a structural change in the economy. Essentially, the reforms sought to gradually phase out government control of market, private public sector organizations, and reduce export subsidies and import barriers to enable free trade. Globalization also helped in raising living standards, alleviating poverty, assuring food security, generating buoyant market for expansion of industry and services.
Effects of globalization on Indian industry started when the government opened the country's markets to foreign investments in the early 1990s. Globalization of the Indian industry took place in its various sectors such as steel, petroleum, chemical, textile, cement, retail, and BPO. Globalization means the dismantling of trade barriers between nations and the integration of the nations' economies through financial flow, trade in goods and services, and corporate investments between nations. Globalization has increased across the world in recent years due to the fast progress that has been made in the field of technology, especially in communications and transport. The government of India made changes in its economic policy in 1991 by which it allowed direct foreign investments in the country. The benefits of the effects of globalization in the Indian industry are that many companies set up industries in India, especially in the BPO, petroleum, manufacturing, and chemical sectors, and this helped to provide employment to many people in the country. This helped reduce the level of unemployment and poverty in the country. Also, the benefit of the effects of globalization on Indian industry are that the foreign companies brought in highly advanced technology with them, and this helped to make the Indian industry more technologically advanced. The negative effects of globalization on Indian industry are that with the coming of technology, the number of labor required decreased, and this resulted in many people being removed from their jobs. This happened mainly in the chemical, manufacturing, and cement industries.
Good afternoon, sir.
Very good afternoon.
Sir, will you please tell us briefly about globalization policy?
Okay. Globalization policy is part and parcel of new economic policy that was introduced in the year 1991 in India. There are three important components of new economic policy. One is privatization, second one is liberalization, and third one is globalization. Now you want to know what is the meaning of this globalization. Globe, you know?
Yes, sir.
So globe. Globalization is nothing but in economic policy. The meaning of the word globalization is opening up of the Indian economy to the world economy, or integration of Indian economy with the global economy. In olden days, say before 1991, this new economic policy was introduced in India 1991. Prior to that, after the independence, mostly Indian economy was relatively closed economy. It was not opening up very much. What is the meaning of this globalization? That means earlier there was restriction. There were restrictions on the import and export of goods, import of capital and export of capital, import of technology. Everything was controlled by central government. But now, after realizing the importance of globalization policy adopted by other countries who have succeeded in the world, so Government of India in 1991 realized that the Indian government must also adopt this new economic policy, including privatization, liberalization, and globalization. So globalization is nothing but opening the gates of the Indian economy. Once the gates are open, foreigners can enter into India, Indians can go out and enter into any other country's economy. So anybody, free means unrestricted import of goods and export of goods can take place. Technology can be transferred from foreign countries to India. Indian people can work elsewhere. So transfer of technology, transfer movement of capital, movement of labor, raw material, entrepreneurs. All these are the four factors of production: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. These four factors of production can now freely move from India to the rest of the world, and from the rest of the world they can enter into India, so that there will be better competition and better movement of the products also and services as well. Not only factors of production are allowed to go out of the country and enter into the country, but even finished goods, semi-finished goods, services can also be traded against freely, relatively freely compared to before 1991.
Where was the necessity to introduce this policy?
Yes, beautiful question. Whenever country or whenever changes are deliberately made, there will be some objective to achieve those objectives, or if they are not satisfied with the existing policy, and if new policy option is there and it has got greater advantages compared to the previous policy, and it is not having disadvantages of the old policy, then definitely if the country as a whole they think that it is better, then they will introduce. Now let us see where was the necessity of introducing globalization policy in the year 1991. Before this adoption of the policy of globalization in 1991, there were a lot of restrictions on the import and export of goods and services. As a result of which, there was less competition within the country. Say some 2 or 3 scooter manufacturing companies were there, 2 or 3 car manufacturers were there. There was no competition for them. Consumers were at loss. If you want, you buy. Otherwise, it is not our choice was not there. If there is competition, quality will improve. And because of competition, prices will fall. Consumers will have variety of choices. So entrepreneurs also will be benefited because of the increased sales, and thereby all-round economic development will take place. For example, in your own school, if there is no competition, what will happen? Students will not work hard, talent will not be recognized, there will be no appreciation for good students or better students or the best students. If there is inter-class competition, say 10th A section, B section, C section, that's standard only. You are not competing with the primary school students. Okay, competition at the equal level. Then what happens? The best team will win, and there will be always encouragement for the better performers. And students also of different classes, they will have motivation that let us prepare ourselves and face the competition, and in the competition let us emerge successful. In this process, ultimately a few may get the prizes, but everyone will put the best effort, and the general standard of the game itself will increase. In a similar manner, if you apply it to the Indian economy as a whole, There are a few big manufacturers in any field, whether it may be aircraft or whether it's aircraft or banking or education or manufacturing, import, export, whichever field you take, consumer goods, any field, there is almost less or least competition. In the absence of competition, what happens? A few big manufacturers, they become monopolist. Monopoly means what? One company which can completely control the production and supply of the commodity or service in the market. When supply is controlled by one company or a couple of companies in oligopoly, etc., there will be less choices for the consumers. If you want, you buy, otherwise you leave. Then whatever price, they will go on raising the price. Consumers don't have any choice. So there will be every possibility of exploitation of consumers, and there is no pressure on the existing manufacturers to improve the quality. Anyway, there is no choice. Consumers have to buy, so they used to buy. That is why to lift the economy, to boost the economy, to energize the economy, to activate the economy, Government of India in 1991 removed this old policy of restricted trade and then allowed the foreign competitors to enter into India. And Indian entrepreneurs also, if they are liked by the Westerners or any other countries in the world, they can also go elsewhere and compete with other countries. So once there is healthy, protected competition in the field of manufacturing, in the marketing, in the consumer goods, manufacturing goods, capital goods, machine making goods, in every sector, naturally the best will be rewarded and there will be better price and everybody is happy. Consumers are happy, they have got so many choices. For example, two-wheelers, you have got 10 or 12 varieties of two-wheelers available in the market. You go for electronic goods, or India is also benefited. Consumers are benefited by the lower prices and better options, more choices, improvisation in the quality, new technology, and naturally the monopoly control over the market is also eliminated, and there will be no concentration of economic power and wealth in the hands of a few industries. This is the benefit of globalization of Indian economy.
What is the impact of globalization in education field?
Now, since I am also in the education field for the last 37 years, I am working as associate professor in economics and research guide for Kalaburgi University in the field of economics. You have rightly asked me a question as to what is the impact of this globalization on the educational field. No, it may not be having much impact on the BA, BCom, BSc, such general education. But definitely, if you take the education field as a whole in India, definitely most important are the technical education like engineering and variety of branches, and also medical education, management education, technical education. In all these sectors, naturally, as part of globalization, foreign universities can enter into India. Foreign syllabus, foreign standards, foreign quality in education. Foreign teachers can visit India. Indian teachers, if they are better, they can go abroad. So foreign universities can enter into collaboration with Indian universities. New universities have come up, particularly in engineering, management, and medical sector. So the international standard textbooks, international standard educational facilities, internet connection, whatever the best education you can have in America or England, Germany or Japan, you can have it in India in English. So as a result of it, upcoming students, meritorious students, now they are having better choices. They can as well enter into foreign universities with Indian collaboration. So the education standard is also increasing in India because of the globalization in the field of education.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.